something happens, hot water tank goes out, and you have to come up with all this money. You have to redo your whole bathroom.
Don't you get any ideas?
No.
Our hot water tank is literally like right there, and he's like,
listen.
Don't you
here? I'll knock on some wood back here for you.
This is actually
not
wood.
on this expensive.
Right? We probably wouldn't have got a custom fancy table.
This is me quitting right. This here. If it wasn't for all this,
it's not $20,000, but
for all this. And welcome back to the Rally Back Project with Crystal and John.
Hey,
how's it going? How are you feeling today?
The box of tissues is back.
It's back because tell the people why.
Why?
Why is it back?
Because I'm sick.
Again.
Always.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Yeah.
If you know any good vitamins that, you're not just like
to boost
taking
immune.
Dirt, because I've heard the rumors about that some vitamins are literally just like you're not like really taking anything.
Right.
That's
They're like
helping
placebos.
You. Right. Almost. Yeah. So, yeah, send me some recommendations because I'm sick of this shit.
Yeah.
And like legit.
We're already taking Allegra. And by we, I mean she.
Yeah. Every day.
Yeah.
Because it could also be allergies.
Right.
And it's this whole thing. Yeah. Needless to say, I'm over it. Mm-hmm. Before we get to life updates, because there's some life updates, I don't want to forget to do the shout outs because I forgot last week. Something shiny. I got, distracted by giving everybody kudos for $4 or $25 or whatever they support us with.
Right. Well,
and
it was also
forgot
the Halloween special.
I forgot to go back to the names. So
here we go.
Here are the names for October, and we'll do it again for November. Mm-hmm. David, Alexander, Stephanie, Kayla, Barbie.
Barbie?
Like, she's not that Barbie.
Okay.
No. Our daycare has a lady named Barbie.
I was like, that's weird.
Barbie is the one that we see here. I go getting distracted again. Barbie is the one who made that post in Will's group the other day about how she made $10K in sales.
Yeah. Congratulations.
This month. And she's a newbie laser owner.
Yeah.
So
she was giving Will props for
and our podcast.
And the podcast.
So shout out to Barbie. We're gonna try and get her scheduled on soon because I want to hear her story and get her tips because I want to make $10K a month so that you can stop having this terrible schedule. Anyway, Madison, Danny, Catherine, Renee, Emily, Amanda, Keith, Josie, Mark, Kathy, MJ, Ryan, and the OG Will. Which, god damn it, Will, he still didn't send me his script, so we gotta at some point sneak in his ad that we're making up for him until he sends me a script someday. Okay. So,
well, hopefully he has sent the script before this airs.
I'm not holding my breath.
Oh, okay.
He's a busy man. I'll give him that.
He is busy. Along with his 25 kids.
Right, 5. I told him yesterday, I'm like, I can't handle 2. I don't know how you handle 5. Because yeah.
And if you notice, we're wearing our new slightly off center merch.
Yay. I just
for those watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like comment.
Do all those things. Smash that like button.
She said it. Hit the bell.
Ding. I know I'm a perfectionist, so I know that as a customer, I'm unfortunately harder to please. I get that. But I feel like
a little bit.
Yeah, I just feel like, with the table, again, amazing company, and they made it right and they fixed it.
Right.
And others agreed. Because I always have to ask other people, would this bother you? Because it bothers me. And that doesn't necessarily mean it bothers everybody else.
Right.
So I had posted in the group about the shirts. And of course, I was 8 orders in and noticed that one of them was off center. And I'm like, here goes the anxiety through the roof because now I have to have a conversation. I have to not like a confrontation, but kind of
because you have to reach out to the maker and say, hey,
and
listen.
hope that they don't brush me off or whatever. So Yeah. So today I'm dragging you with me for confidence, and hoping that we can continue this relationship, because my last shirt maker was actually someone that Heather used in Philly, and he's really bad about getting back to emails. And I was not having that this time, because I had to like keep hounding him and you know, sending another email. Hey, did you get my email? Hey, did you get? And I was like, I'm not doing that this time. And so I wanted to find someone local, you know, that's, and to save on shipping as well and keep costs lower. And you know, they've been amazing, and not that they won't still continue to be amazing, but it sucks that, you know, depending on how this situation is handled, you know, we may or may not have this as a
an option,
business relationship going forward. So yeah, wish me luck there.
Yeah.
And then, man, life updates. This, like, I'm gonna get real. Yeah. This week has been really fucking hard.
Yeah, it's
like
tough.
Really hard. Monday started with JR getting some kind of infection that the doctor said it's probably pink eye, but like she wasn't.
Not like
choking me.
Not like isn't it like bacterial? Not viral?
There's like two different kinds or something, and she wasn't really sure if it was or it wasn't, but either way, the diagnosis was
his eye isn't really like,
no, it wasn't like super pink or anything.
It's just, you can tell it's a little irritated, and it was a little
he
puffy.
Had like the little like eye boogers that like continually come back, unlike when you wake up and you have like, you know, sleep stuff in your eyes and it goes away. So that started, and he's a difficult one. He'll fight you on medicine. There was a point in his life where the medicine was white and he refused to take it, but it was blue. It was the new one. So it didn't have the artificial coloring that they are trying to like remove out of things that don't need it.
So we had to add the artificial.
So I added it myself. I had to add food coloring to the medicine. And so like we've passed that, but like giving him eye drops was literally like a battle. It was like wrestling an alligator.
Yeah, and we tried the old bribery with candy.
We bribed the world.
And tablet and TV and all the things. Like, he's really more, he's scared. He's scared of them.
Which is hard because you want to be sensitive to that. But at the same time, like, you have to take these. So, and what adds an extra level of difficulty is your work hours. And so that means that 5 days a week, I'm on my own, you know, for dinner and bedtime, which is when 2 of those drops need to be given
3 times a day.
Yeah. And so like my anxiety again was through the roof, because I eventually could, but I like physically I'm not as able to hold him down because he's not strong. It's AF.
Yeah, and it's not easy. And it's not just him moving his head. He moves his head, he flails his arm, and then he starts kicking. And so it's like you have to be like this octopus to get him down. And then he clenches his eyes so the drops just roll off.
Yeah.
It's hard. Luckily he's gotten a little better. He fought me this morning to put him on, but he's getting a little more, I wouldn't say comfortable with him, but I mean,
so like yesterday, it was a win for me because I got 2 different times, the after school and the before bed one, with little to no fight. And so that was huge. And I made sure to like overly praise him and tell him how proud I am of him and how good he did. And I gave him like an extra piece of candy. And so then there was that. So he was home for 3 days because of the fight with the drops. They weren't being as effective. And so we couldn't send him back to school, even though it's supposed to be like 24, 48 hours. The one day they were still a little red, and I'm like, you know, I don't want another kid to get this. And then I also, you know, I don't know if he's contagious, like, you know, and I also don't want them to be like, oh, come get your kid either. So then there was that. And then,
well, he fought sleep.
Oh yeah. And then the one night he said that he was, we got to make scared spray.
We're going to have a whole thing of sprays.
Oh my God. So we already have monster spray, and so now we need to add scared spray. Scared spray. But yeah, it was time to go to bed, and then all of a sudden he was scared, and he would not let me leave that room. He came running after me down the hall.
I might be at fault for that, for trying to hold him down those first 2 days to get those drops in.
I mean, that definitely probably didn't make him calm, but it's like at the time we didn't know.
Right.
I mean, you eventually found a video on YouTube that like gave us some an easier way to do it, which has worked a few times, but even then that didn't work seamlessly. But and I knew that probably like potentially, contributed to it. It's why like it's really frustrating when he kind of fights me right before bedtime, because it's like you have to find this tricky balance between not allowing the behavior and not getting him super upset and riled up right before bed.
Right.
So it's like I don't want to allow this. At the same time, I don't want you super upset right before you go to bed, because one, who wants to go to bed angry and or sad and upset? And then it's totally going to contribute to like your dreams and
and the littlest thing sets him off from him really wanting to read one book as opposed to another book, one, or his pillow not.
Oh my god!
Like he's OCD. He's really OCD.
Yeah.
You not fixing his blanket right or whatever.
Gosh,
anything will set him off if he goes into a tantrum. Right, and it's always right before bed.
Yeah, part of it is I think he's also procrastinating. He doesn't want to go to bed, and so like he'll find this thing that he's gonna like get hung up on, and procrastinate the bedtime. So there was that, and then Jackson in daycare. There's been a biting situation in daycare, and scratching, and it all just kind of
he's learning to walk. So
it all came to a head, and there was like a bite or two. Like, so there was a bite last week, there was a bite the week before, and then this week there was a scratch, and it was like, all right, like I'm done. Like that was my max.
Well, and then the scratch happened. Right after you fought with JR to put in drops.
Right.
And then the scratch happened.
Yeah.
And then when you get there,
then I go to pick him up, and I already sent like the email of like, what do we need to do so that my son, like I get that a lot of this is age. I get that like there's it's hard because these things happen in an instant. Like I said, like, I'm trying to be understanding, but I'm really losing my ability to do so because my son keeps coming home with marks.
Right.
And
if we were to send him to school with marks constantly,
they'd be questioning us.
I'm sure we'd have a knock on the door.
Exactly.
And having to fill out paperwork.
Right. And so I go to pick him up, and she comes out and she's like, I just responded to your email. And then immediately after I responded to your email, he fell on the playground and he busted his lip.
Right.
And I was like, and like, again, like I know he's a new walker. I've seen him bust his ass in the house.
Right.
Thankfully he's usually in his play area that has some padding.
And so we have that padding mat
for a reason.
And the rug.
Right. And that's why I don't let him, I try not to let him walk on the tile floor because I don't want him to like bust a tooth out.
Right.
And
he goes all.
Yeah, he goes face first. Yeah,
and then his belly catches him, but his face goes forward.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny watching him fall.
Yeah, it kind of is. I have a few on video. But yeah, so it's like it's just this tricky balance of being understanding. This is staff that we followed from a previous place that JR went to that we were very happy with,
except for one. Except for one, the new one.
Oh, which one? Oh, yeah, that one. Yeah. And there was one person I wasn't particularly fond of at the old place, but she's not at this new place.
Oh, okay.
And she eventually like kind of grew on me. But again, she just had kind of like a different style or whatever. I don't even remember what I didn't like, but yeah. And so it was just like all these things, and again, because they're after school and bedtime things, it just it felt like, and mostly it was all on me, and it's overwhelming, especially when we have this goal of you eventually coming home, it's just even more like salt on the wound. It feels like you'll never get the dayside schedule. Like, again, I don't know that I would have left our life in Colorado, where we both basically worked almost the same schedule. We were home for dinner, like, the bedtime routine was like a shared thing to a certain extent. And, we were both
we didn't
there.
work the same schedule. I was just able to sleep during the day.
Well, true. But like, I mean, you left early in the morning and then, you slept during the day. And then, so it just worked. We were together during that 3-4 hour range where it was dinner, bedtime, whatever. So I didn't know that it would be like, the 5 nights alone, for 4 years and then adding an additional child into that mix.
This is all because it all goes back to stinking COVID. Because if it wasn't for COVID,
you'd already have that. Yeah,
I would have been moved
schedule
up.
By now.
Right, but there were buyouts, and then those positions weren't refilled. Like, they're, I guess, maybe opening up. I don't know what's going on, but the positions went away. Right. And they haven't come back, so there's no room for me to move up.
Yeah. And then the t-shirt thing happened like on the one of those days.
Everything
as well.
happened like between Monday and Wednesday. Between those 3 days, all of this stuff
Wednesday,
happened.
When I tell you I was done, I was done. He was looking, I still want you to, but he was looking for like other like jobs and positions and like other options.
Yeah,
and
other options.
Because I think the fact that what helps me is that I know that this is temporary, but what doesn't help my anxiety is not knowing how long.
Right, how long temporary is.
Right, and so, we've talked since then, and I've also calmed down some, and we have kind of some like loose plans, and then we have some things that we're going to try and put into motion.
So if you need any social media editing.
Or video editing or files or just anything,
any way to support.
Let us know. And then so I also a little mental health shout out. Like, I've been talking about needing to like do something about like my anxiety and everything that's going on for a while. And I made a couple appointments for my hands, because my hands, I've been having like weakness in them for I don't know how long. I got a shot in my wrist last year, and that helped with the pain. And I don't have a ton of pain now. I do here and there, but a lot of weakness. Like, I can't open like my kids' snacks very easily. I can't open like a bottle of whatever, twist off bottle.
Something sealed.
Yeah. And so I really struggle with those. Sealed. Yeah. And it, like, the strength I have should not be the strength I have as a 38-year-old woman. So I made an appointment for that. I made an appointment for my knees. I've been having pain in my knees for life. They're it's pretty disgusting. I love tormenting you with it.
You do. Every night.
It's the only thing that bothers you.
After we turn off the TV and like we're going to bed, you like
that one step.
Did you hear that? And I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm like, ooh, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me.
And so I'll sit there and like I'll do like squats just to like.
And that's probably contributed to your knee pain.
Probably.
At least in my mind, I'm saying that's what it is.
Probably, but whatever, it's there anyway. So why not torment you a little bit?
So you'll have titanium knees soon.
Probably. And then I also made. I'm not crying. I made an anxiety. I made a therapist appointment for someone new. And then I also I just left a message. They haven't called me back yet, but the voicemail said like 48 hours. But a behavioral therapist for JR as well. Because he's an amazing kid and he's a great kid.
But the tantrums
But when he's not, they're on a whole new level.
And even he says it's like he calls it.
He said he can't help it.
Yeah, he's like, I can't control my arms.
I can't control my arms and my feet. Yeah. And so we just need to find ways to manage those outbursts when they happen, without causing additional trauma.
And I'm sure, much like Cesar Millan, it's probably us.
Oh no, I 100% know that. Not to compare it to a dog, but it's true. Like it's the owners, it's the parents. Like he's 5 years old. He's not. He doesn't have the tools yet to know how to do those things.
Neither do we.
This is also true. We don't have them. It's not in our tool bench, in our wheelhouse.
It's not. I was gonna say, because I know how much you love that term, wheelhouse.
Heather likes that term. Every time I'm like, but yeah, so hopefully we can get some things to try with him, what to do in those moments, and help him work through his emotions that are totally normal, because I don't want to like suppress them, but I also don't want you kicking me, because I want to kick you back, exactly. and that's unacceptable. Yeah. So I think that's all life. the life updates. It's a whole lot going on over here. So if it's the same in your house, just know that you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I mean, so
that's the thing with this podcast. You're not alone.
I posted a story on the Ride the Black Project page the other day. I shared a reel, and it was a really good one about operating in chaos. Mm-hmm. Like, we call it the black cloud, black cloud britches. There's a lot of us in this crew that feel like there's always like something that's happening. As soon as we're like, okay, then 4 things will happen like instantaneous. And you're like, all right, white flag, I'm out.
I'm done.
And so what I'm trying to do, with the therapy sessions, is operating in chaos. The chaos isn't going to go away.
Right.
And so I need better tools at managing the chaos. And he said something like, he's like, if someone steals my car, maybe they even blew it up.
Right.
I'm going to go to sushi with my wife, and we're going to talk about the solution, not the problem.
Right.
And it's like, man, sushi sounds good. I like what you think. You know what I mean? So it just like, I got to get better at not like feeling like attacked,
not dwelling in the problem,
but trying to like find the solution, which is really hard when it feels like it's coming from every single direction. But so we're gonna get better at operating in chaos. So
all right,
ready to get our guest?
All
right,
BRB. And we're back with our guest, Kodi from DIY with Kodi. Hey, how's it going?
Hi, good. How are you guys?
Good. I'm glad it's Friday.
Huh? You glad it's Friday?
And I'm glad you're off.
Yes.
That's probably why you're glad it's Friday, because I'm off.
Yes, very much so. Because then I'm not alone with these little.
I was gonna say with the kids.
Yes, exactly. It's been a week.
Listen to the intro and you'll hear.
Oh my god, such a mess.
So how'd you guys meet?
Well, so we met basically in the Facebook groups, which is usually how I find most of our guests, is because we've crossed paths somehow in the groups. And it was probably, it probably went back actually to the Glowforge group, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because I don't think it was new in that one with the laser. Yeah. And I just love her, like her style. And the funny thing is, it's not even really like my style. It wouldn't necessarily be things that I would make, but she makes me want to make stuff like similar to hers, because it looks so good. And like, I don't know, she's good at pictures too, I think. And I was just drawn to your stuff. Every time she'd post, I'm like, oh, Kodi post, what'd you make?
What'd you make? I plop it in front of a tree anymore and just like snap a picture of it. It's just, I know some people get all fancy with their photos, but sometimes,
you don't need to sometimes. Because, depending on the piece, it'll speak for itself. All you need is the tree to prop it up on. Right. So how did you start? How did you get into the laser world? What were you doing before it? And
I've always kind of been creative. I did fail art class in every single grade that I ever was in.
Nice.
Throughout high school. I failed.
Yeah.
And then here I am.
Yeah.
But gosh, when I was like 16, 17, I ended up working at a floral shop, and I kind of got into design and putting things together, and I really liked it, which kind of catapulted me into this world of like a Cricut, and then that just kind of kept going. And when Glowforge
drug, of course.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. All my stash up here, I have a loft above me, but like it's full completely of random craft supplies, wreaths, everything you can think of is just up there. But
it's hard because like you can't necessarily get rid of that stuff. I can't tell you how many times for like a gift or a project or something where I've had to go into my craft room and like looked for something that would help. Like back when one of our friends got married, I went and looked for like a container because I had a whole bunch of random empty containers and we like put those ladybugs in it and like, you know, just little stuff like that. Like, you know, and we were doing the Halloween decorations and I had a million little like hook things that we could use, you know, for hanging up the decorations. And yeah, it makes us hoarders because we can turn anything into something eventually sometimes.
Right.
Oh, I agree. I'm guilty of it. It's like a hoarding. And I've listened to you kind of talk about getting an organizer and everything. And I should probably think about doing
that. We probably need her to come back and do a little maintenance.
Hey, I would not complain.
But I mean, it was great. Like I highly recommend anybody looking into, you know, just asking around. Maybe they're more expensive than you can afford. And maybe you save up for it, or maybe you are like me and you get lucky and you find someone amazing who was super affordable for me at the time. And it was money well spent for sure.
It's worth it
because it made me more productive. It makes it so that, sure, I mean, stuff totally gets messy again regularly, like weekly. But when it's easier for me to clean up because most things have a place. And so then it's just when I clean up, then it's like, oh, okay, I literally just need to put this away, you know?
Yeah.
So
when everything has a home, it's like your mind is free of distraction.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, you have all the Cricut and craft stuff, and then where'd you go from there?
I was on, I don't know if it was Instagram or Facebook, and you know, the advertisements for the Glowforge, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never seen one of these before. Like, what is this piece of equipment that I've never seen? Because I like to, you know, I like to research different tools and stuff. So I kind of got into Glowforge right as it got out of crowdfunding. So I mean, it's been a long time. So I kind of started there, and then I saw you guys all talking about the Mira. So then I was like, oh, okay, now I got to get a Mira because I keep seeing these cool things that everybody has. So after that, it's just kind of progressed into what it is now.
Yeah.
Really.
And so what did you have like a regular job, or like did you go straight from like, because you said it like 16, 17, 18, is that when you got the Cricut?
Yeah. Well, probably about 18 or 19. So I went to cosmetology school originally out of high school. I got out of high school early. I went to cosmetology school at about 17, and I started to get sick, which, you know, I had to come back home because I was a few hours away from home. And so when I came back, I got the job at the floral shop, and the illness that I had kind of prevented me from staying there. But after I got it all figured out, I ended up working in a dental office, and I'm like, oh, I can make some extra money with this Cricut, you know, and making wreaths or making whatever else I was making back in the very beginning. And as that evolved, I was able to leave my job, and I've been working for myself since then. I think in April it'll be 7 years.
Wow.
7 years.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's good.
Yeah. And so then when you got the laser, what were some of the like things that were there things that you thought you wanted to make and then you made them and then changed your mind? Because that's pretty typical.
Oh, yeah.
What did you go into it thinking you were going to make?
Well, yeah. And, you know, the problem with where I live, I'm in Montana, and I feel like a lot of the trends are like 5 years behind.
Right.
So a lot of the things now that are popular are not. Like, for instance, I think I started making like tiered trays 4 or 5 years ago, and now they're popular here.
Oh, really?
So it's like, okay, I'm way past that stage now.
Yeah.
So my audience shifted from kind of accommodating locals and doing that aspect of it into promoting myself more to people that are not here.
Right.
I actually hosted paint parties before I started really pushing for online.
Right.
So I used to do all the paint parties and private, public at different restaurants to kind of draw business into these places.
Well, and that's kind of where the like DIY with Kodi name came, right?
Yes. I mean, it's Kodi's Creations technically, according to my business license.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Obviously that's changed a lot and switching things up. Everybody warns you against rebranding. Like, don't rebrand. You don't want to lose everything you've worked for. But I think locally I'm pretty well known, and even kind of across Montana.
It's definitely appropriate sometimes because like you had said on the pre-show, you know, you were kind of like on this this time crunch where you needed to come up with a business name and get it registered so that you're, you know, performing your business activities legally. But then at the same time, like, you're so new, and so you don't really know like what you're going to do or what's it going to evolve into. And so it's hard because like rebranding is usually happens when you've kind of figured out your thing. And so now it's like, okay, that first logo maybe was like a little sketch and you just had like, you made it using like, you know, clip art or like who knows what, you know? And then, you know, then you maybe have one actually created custom for you that more fits like your current like aesthetic and personality, because that changes too. I mean, 7 years.
It's been a long time.
The Kodi you were 7 years ago is not the same as, you know, the Kodi now, just because that's how life works. So yeah, rebranding, I think, although frustrating and annoying and expensive, because I still love my logo just because it was like my original logo, but I've wanted to kind of like adjust it. But I also don't really know what I want either.
Right. So that's how I am too. Yeah.
And then it's hard because I also pulled from the original logo to make our podcast logo. And so it's like, I have to be like, I can only shift so much because then everything has to shift. Exactly. And then I have to rebrand several things. And then it's like, okay, never mind. It's fine.
Well, and when I see your logo, I think of both. I think of the podcast and your business itself. So I think it's a good combo.
Right? Yeah. I try.
Well, you do
like well, and even for like the keychain thingies and like the shafty boards, like I was make like the keychain thingies, like the stickers I have, I make sure like, you know, one word was like red and I think the other word is black. So I did the same thing with like the shafty boards and whatever. So like I use the same like fonts and aesthetics so that
keep it in the family.
So that even though it's like different products and different like business avenues, that hopefully when you see them, you still think of me.
Oh, this must be if not, they're biting off of
exactly. So what's your favorite thing to do now? Like, what is your business kind of evolved into currently?
Gosh, it's kind of moved into logos. I started doing, you know, like simple things, kind of like mass producing a little bit of custom here and there. But I started making logos, and now I'm just, honestly, when I say buried, I mean, I've got 100 open orders of all logos that I have to do in the next 14 days.
14 days?
14 days, yes. I'm one of those people who like...
We should keep this short.
piles it on. Well, you know what? If my laser wasn't so loud, I was like, while I'm out here, I could throw some stuff in there while it's cutting.
Throw it on.
But no, it's too loud. It all echoes in here.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it shifted into, is like business and promotional stuff for businesses. And I've been working with some event planners on doing like signage for their events. I do some stuff with some influencers, depending on, you know, what they're requesting.
Right.
But that's really what it is. Around Christmas time, I get hit with a lot of like quilts and custom pieces. But honestly, the majority of what I do.
You mean like the wood barn quilts things?
Yes, Robin's lovely files. Oh yes, I still use those.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think one of the first things that you posted that kind of caught my eye was like, it was not necessarily one of the barn quilts, but it was like, I think the herringbone pattern with the wood, but like the address sign. And like also using it with like acrylic and standoffs and all of that. And it was I loved the aesthetic of it. And again, like that's not my style, but it was like it made me want to go make one.
I'm glad I did that. I find joy in those. They kind of give me a little bit of a break from what I do all the time. And at some point, that's how many open orders I had for like quilts or, like address signs, for instance, because I do still kind of work with some realtors. I have like a group of them that I kind of service locally and outside of Montana, obviously. But that's kind of where I've went to. And I feel like it's a lot better working with other small business owners because they kind of get it, if you're delayed a little bit because something happened, like my hot water tank. They're like, okay, well, we got you. We understand we've got kids too. So it's nice to kind of have that balance of,
and having to like bring to life their logo in like a whole new way. Like, and I feel like and this is in theory because I haven't done like a lot of logo work, but I feel like it's nice because the design is kind of almost already done. You don't have to really think about the design aspect of it because, unless I'm sure it happens where they come to you with the terrible quality, JPEG,
PNGs,
exactly. But like then you just have to think like, okay, what color paint or acrylic or shape do I need to use with this design, because the design is kind of already done. And so then you're just kind of figuring out the finishing touches rather than like the design like from ground up,
right. And the fun thing about having like options for materials is, with wood you can use like spray paints to kind of give it more of like the bubbly kind of finish. Obviously those are more expensive if you want to go into like super great detail, but I kind of made it so small businesses who aren't really big yet can have a sign that has their stuff on it without it being $500, for instance. So certain pieces I'm able to kind of price cheaper to help out these small businesses that because it's expensive to start a business. It's expensive to get all your booth
I remember it was like every time I thought I got everything I needed, then it was like, oh, $25 for this, $100 for this license, then you need to do this, or here's your taxes, now you need to pay someone to do those taxes. And like it's just, and your logo, thankfully, like my logo and my branding, I had a coworker / friend do it for me at my old job. And I mean, she did amazing because it's been what, how many years have I been doing this? 5?
Yeah.
4 or 5? Yeah. And it's still like, something I use every single day. So I got lucky there, but that's expensive and, time consuming and
takes forever.
Time consuming, which again is kind of money because time is money and you're not making a ton of money in the beginning.
No, none. You're putting it all back for like the first 2 years.
And so what do you do when someone comes with a really bad quality like logo? How do you turn that into something that you're able to put into the laser and come out with, not a whole bunch of jagged lines and all of that? Because like fonts are really hard, even if it's a quality file, unless it's like an actual SVG or an AI file. It like I've found that even tracing those, that to my standards, they don't look good. So then I end up spending hours looking for a similar font to replace, what they sent me.
I feel like throughout my years of being in all these groups, and I utilize Canva, which a lot of them use. I use for a lot of things too. So when they send me their file and say like, their font's pretty blurry, you've got a bunch of fuzzy pieces, or you trace it and you've got nodes everywhere. I pretty much know the fonts, which seems crazy. Like I used to utilize all these apps and stuff to try and figure out what font is this?
What the font?
Where did this come from? But now I've kind of narrowed down what font it is, and I have a ton downloaded. So if I don't know what it is, I'll scroll through the 500 fonts I have to see.
Which do you use? Do you know about Word Market?
I think I've heard of it, but I've never used it or anything.
Oh man, I use it. If I'm designing, I use it probably daily. So it's how I easily scroll through all of the fonts on my computer. So it's Word. Oh crap! There's a random period in it. I'm gonna look while we're talking, and so that I can actually give them how to. Because it's a solid tip. Because I remember when someone told me this, it saved me so much time to be able to see, all of my fonts in one place without having to copy and paste it all and have it all in one screen, or literally arrowing down over and over. Okay, so it's wordmark as one word .it, and that's the and it's free. There's, as always, there's a paid version, of course, that gives you some kind of fancy tools. But what you can do, so if I'm trying a design and I'm I wonder, I'm looking for a blocky caps font, or I'm looking for a nice script font. Well, then I'll go through and you type in whatever the word is or the phrase or whatever, and then it shows you all of your fonts in alphabetical order in that word in that font. And then you can go through and click on the ones that you like. And then at the end, you can click on show selected fonts or something like that, and it'll show all of them on one screen. And it was great when I was doing a lot of custom work, because then I would literally take a screenshot of that screen and be I'd send them 6 fonts or something. I'd be choose your favorite. And then I could choose ones that were laser ready, not not going to fall apart when I try to go cut them at, by 2 inches. And then they can kind of compare them all and, find one that they like. Yeah. But for me, that was a huge hack that saved me a lot of time.
I'm going to have to get it.
Try it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to try it out.
Yeah. So yeah, and what about if they have I've seen a lot of multicolored florals or watercolor, what do you do in those situations?
A lot of times I will it's kind of, I mean there's a lot of steps here. Well, yeah. Sometimes say that I have the piece ready, the file's ready to go, I have the shape of say the paint swatch in the background. I'll just take a piece of cardboard and I'll cut it out, and then I'll trace it onto the sign and hand paint it in.
Yeah.
So I kind of go in, because I like to create it as much as I can. I've learned to mix paints differently so you can get a different effect, add some water to it. I've tried some alcohol inks on acrylic to kind of get a similar effect, but it can be tricky sometimes, and
just gotta wing it.
Yeah, the PNG and the JPEGs. Honestly, I do get a lot. And some people kind of try and trick me where they go online and they use some online converter to a PDF or, an SVG, because I can use a PDF too.
Right.
But they'll try and convert it, and I'm oh no, this isn't, this isn't the original PDF. This is you trying to pull it faster.
Right.
But
do you charge a design fee? Because that's a lot of time, a lot of times, to convert it into something again that's laser ready.
It takes forever. Sometimes they will, especially if they're super complex. I've gotten pretty fast at noticing, different elements.
Right away, oh, this is gonna be
yeah, and sometimes I'm hey, I know you made this in Canva because I know that flower is in Canva. Can you send me the link so I can access your account and get into it and save it how I need to save it?
Right.
So then I can kind of go in and switch colors up if I need to kind of accommodate, say I needed to trace something.
Right.
And then I go in and do all the nodes and reshape.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, it can be tough sometimes, but it is
awesome.
Kind of what it is, I guess. I'll figure it out.
Right. So how did you get so busy? How did you market yourself? Did it kind of just happen by word of mouth? Were you great at social media?
Well, like I said, when COVID hit, I was still doing paint parties. I didn't really focus on because I had no idea how to ship anything. I mean, people are like, "Oh, you can go to Pirate Ship and get cheaper labels," and I'm like,
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even have a scale. So,
right.
When that happened, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing the parties, but obviously, I make the money here, so I'm like, I have to figure something out. So I started going on TikTok. I had heard people talk about TikTok before. I have a rabbit here. I'm sorry.
I was
She's
wondering what that was.
No.
It was a dog.
I was like, oh, he's got an itch.
Yes, she's gonna make a lot of noise. But when COVID hit, I went ahead and got on TikTok, and I just started posting these videos. I didn't really think it would go anywhere because the first 2-3 didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then one went viral. I had over 2 million views on it. And after that, it just kind of kept going. And that's what started my Etsy shop. So once I built up all that traffic coming into my Etsy shop, Etsy kept putting me in the search. So it kind of just took off from there. And then once I started doing the business signs, a lot of the people who originally purchased the very first in the door logos, they had fairly big a big following.
Yeah.
So then when they would post it, people in similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say I see a lot of. I mean, I obviously follow you on social media, and I've seen a lot of people. They'll be so happy to see their sign their logo come to life in a sign, and then of course they're sharing it, and then they tag her, and then she's resharing it or whatever. But when you're a small business, you typically have several small business friends as well. And so you see something and you're like, "Ooh, I like that. I want one."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's how it's all catapulted. I mean,
yeah,
that's how it's done it. And then eventually, now if you kind of get on Etsy and search for a business sign, you'll see multiple listings of mine pop up. So I've also learned that if you duplicate a lot of duplicate it once, you know what I mean? Duplicate it and then put a different signage that has, a similar kind of aesthetic to it.
Yeah.
It draws in those same customers back.
Yeah.
If they were to look over previous logos that you have listed, they see, oh, this one's cool. And then
it's hard. It's hard with logos too, because they're so specific to that person that if you see it, you won't necessarily sometimes, depending on their business, it might be hard for them to picture how that would look with their logo. Little things like when we got that logo of us drawn, I wanted to look at, I looked at her entire Etsy and scrolled through each listing and the picture because I wanted to find, people that were like us, either thicker or, just things like that. The one that I had for the actual business, I'm like, okay, who isn't doing vinyl or who isn't doing hair? How does she do with these other random elements? And I did all that before I chose them because it's okay, it could look great for this person, but it may not necessarily be the right fit for me and my logo or my, business. So yeah, having several examples for people to see, they may see something that's similar or just one that helps them picture theirs being done by you as well.
Right. Yeah. Having multiple options for people to look at is really important.
Yeah.
Different styles, because you never know what you're going to get and you want to see their work in different ways. So that's really beneficial for people to do on their shops.
Yeah, for sure. So do you have any business goals? Do you have any what's something or some things that you maybe want to accomplish next year, since we're almost
there
at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Gosh, it goes by so fast, doesn't it?
Yeah.
When I throughout the years, I've never set goals because I'm one of those people who, if I don't reach that goal, it's going to eat me alive for a long time.
Yeah.
So the beginning of this year, my only goal was to reach 2,000 sales and have more followers on Instagram than what I was following.
Yeah.
I hit that pretty quick. Now I'm, 2,700 sales in or something, and then I have a little bit more followers than I'm following, but that was my goal this last year, and I've met it. So
Yeah.
Next year, I've kind of exceeded a lot of things that I had hoped for.
Yeah.
That weren't necessarily goals. Like, I wanted to at least make enough money to have money in savings, and still not breaking even.
Yep.
This month, I found when I first started, a lot of people didn't want to talk money. Nobody really wants to tell you how much they're making. Nobody.
Yeah, it's awkward. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So.
Well, and then it's hard because then it goes on the other side too. It's a really delicate thing for several reasons. Because on one hand, and it depends on the audience as well. Because on one hand, someone sharing what they make can be extremely motivating to one set of people. Another person hearing that, it can be incredibly defeating if they feel like they're doing everything they can and they're not making that much money. A lot of people don't see the hard work that goes on behind the scenes in order to get that kind of money coming in. And then the other people, and again, it could be potentially a reflection on them, but then for some people, it comes off as bragging. And some people it is.
Right.
So it's this delicate thing of talking about money, but how it is important to talk about, when you have that appropriate audience, because it can really help put things into perspective.
Right. And, I hate to walk that line because I feel like it's hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like I was averaging enough to keep myself at home. I was averaging enough to cover, my half of expenses, take care of the kids, whatever, animals, because we've got quite a few animals. Yeah. But it's my fault.
Mimi.
Yeah, it's my fault. But now, honestly, I've never done so much in sales. I don't know what's happened in October.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's safe to say how much I've done because it's a lot higher than people have done. I have done $20,000 in sales this month.
That's amazing.
So I'm kind of working towards letting my boyfriend, we've been together for 8 years. So if you want to say husband, sure, that's pretty much what it is. I'm just waiting on the ring.
At this point, depending on the laws of your state.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we own a house together. We've got kids and pets, but my goal now is to kind of have him stay home because I feel like what we're missing is that time at home. I am spending, he gets off, I go out here into the shed or the garage and I start working until the kids are in bed. And then I go inside and paint everything and I'm up till 6 a.m., 7. And then it's okay, I've been awake for 48 hours. I've got to go to bed.
Right.
So now it's kind of come to the point where we need to start kind of focusing on what we're doing as a family. So go from working our butts off and putting all this time in that, not everybody sees to being able to spend time as a family. So that's kind of where I'm trying to get to now.
Yeah.
The goal for next year hopefully is to have us both home and
same
kids. Yes. I was listening to some of the podcasts.
Yeah.
And I know that you want John home too. So it's kind of it's hard. It's a hard balance and people don't see the work you put in. I run myself pretty ragged.
Yeah. Well, and that's the hard part too, is that we want him home, but we also don't want, we're, at least personally, I'm okay with making less if it means that while the kids are home, we can be at least maybe not 100% present, but mostly present most of the time. Yeah. And then when they are sleeping or in school or in daycare, that's when we go hard. Okay, yes, maybe we have some really late nights because we're night owls anyway. We could spend it doing other things instead of watching TV on the couch or those kind of things. But then those
when I leave, there won't be much TV to watch on the couch.
It won't be paid for by your employer anymore.
Right, and that's expensive.
Right, yeah, we get a huge discount.
Our package is
if we have the Rolls Royce of packages, we could not afford this package.
We have the Rolls Royce while driving a '94 Civic.
Basically, so just things like that, and what I learned in moving here. So we moved from Colorado 4 years ago. We survived on a lot less than we ever did in Colorado. Yeah. So I know it's possible that okay, yeah, maybe initially we're not going to be rolling in the dough, but as long as we can cover like the necessities,
basics,
gas, mortgage, food, daycare.
Just to live like a happy life, like not be so like a workaholic.
Right. Yeah. So it's like
the life we have right now.
Yeah. So, and even like, I'm okay with a little bit less if it means that like you're home. They, cause JR, especially as he gets older, the older he gets, the more he asks for you to be home.
Right. Yeah.
Is daddy coming home? Cause sometimes he can come home for dinner depending on, what story he's on and how far away from the house he is. And I mean, he asks almost every day, is daddy coming home, today? And it's like, probably not. And then, he loves when you put him down, but he wants us both involved in bedtime. And so to have us both involved in that process, and, that is worth a lot more than money necessarily.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely a goal for us next year.
Like they say, at the end, no one's ever says, man, I wish I would have worked a little more.
Right.
No.
Everyone always like, I wish I had more time with family.
Right. Yep. And then it's shifting into working harder, not working smarter, not harder. And so I know that like you still want to, and you can, I think you can have the best of both worlds, where you want to have options that are affordable for, kind of like all business owners. But that is why some people start charging $500 for signs. And it's because their time is now, they're so in demand that their time is worth that, because that's just kind of, what is it? I saw that a quote the other day. You're paying, when you pay your price for something, you're paying for the years, not the minutes.
Right.
And there was that ship thing where the engineer comes, they tried for weeks to figure out what's wrong with this huge ship, and they couldn't figure out. And this guy shows up, and, he takes a hammer and he taps one little spot, like, lightly or whatever. And then it fixes it in 5 minutes. And then he tells them, okay, that'll be $20,000. Right. And they're like, $20,000, all you did was, tap the hammer. And he's like, yeah, but it took me 30 years to know where to tap and how hard and with what. So, you're paying for the years, not the minutes and expertise. And eventually you have to just start pricing your time and your pieces to match, usually when you have too many orders, it means you're not charging enough.
Right.
And so it's this hard, balance of like raising your prices, still being affordable, doing all of that, but then also making sure that like your business and family goals are being met as well, because they're different for everybody. For some people, what is important to them is not necessarily important to others. So like little things, like I feel like I hopefully never have to give up, is the house cleaning, because I love it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it. So like when things start going, there's going to be other things that go before that.
I don't want to give up wash and fold.
Exactly. Because those are the things that we hate doing and whatever, but maybe it means that temporarily we have to, and that'll be more of a push to like, okay, we got to make this much in sales this month so that we can have Simone come back, or that I can drop off my laundry and not have to fold it this week or whatever. And it doesn't have to be the same for everybody.
Well, what I like about it is that, like you said, I have to make this much this week.
Yeah.
Instead of like now, I know how much I'm getting paid.
Right.
I got to put in these hours. I have to. Yeah. And I'm getting paid this much.
Right.
There's no more unless unless more overtime. That's the other thing is
whatever. Like with your job, you can work your ass off.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to bring home any more money unless you spend more time. If you put in overtime, sure. But now you're way even more. Right. And so that's the only way that you're going to make more.
Right.
When you have your own business, a lot of times, if you put in more hours and time, again, strategically, if you want to be more present for your kids and family, you'll make more money for yourself.
But you can you can charge more. So like if you're you're swamped right now, with orders. If someone comes and says, "Hey, I need this by what you said, 14 days. I need this in the next 7 days." It's like, well, if you want to get bumped to the front of the line, it's going to cost you X amount.
Right.
Where my employer says, "I need you to come in on Saturday." It's only time and a half. I got no bargaining chips here. I can't say, well, that's going to cost you because it's a Sunday.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Double time and a half.
Yeah.
Right.
Sunday, I charge about.
I'm going to need $100 premium.
My day fee for Sundays is this. I can't do that.
Right.
I can't. I don't have that luxury.
Right.
Whereas if you're running your own business, it's like, hey, I need this by Saturday. Well, I'm super swamped.
Right.
If you want it by that time, this is how much.
Right.
And then if they say it, then you're like, fuck, I gotta do it now. Right. But
oh gosh, I procrastinated the last minute.
Right. It's like, man, I should have charged more.
Well, I know when they say no yes problem. Right away. Yeah. Okay, great. I thought it was gonna be worse. And it's like, shit.
Could have got them for more.
Yeah. It's like, I charge double. I mean, if they want it rushed, you're double. Because I've got other people in line waiting, who have likely already paid double. Yeah. And you have to do that.
Yeah. Like last night at work, I had to do essentially double the work.
And it was the same pay.
And I didn't get paid anymore.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I honestly, I didn't even get like really any praise. Like, hey man, good job for doing 2 instead of just the one that you normally do. Or or the one that everybody else, else had 1 package last night. I had to cut 2 packages.
Right.
And it's like, man.
Yeah.
I didn't get anything for that.
Right.
Where if I was working for myself, that's 2 separate videos. That's 2 charges.
Exactly. That's double the money.
That's double. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's the driving force in all this is that that you set your own price and the money's out there to be made. You just have to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yeah, I mean, it's super motivating. I mean, we've oddly enough with your dollar amount, I've said that like if 20,000 just fell into our lap, he's quitting tomorrow.
Done. Yeah.
And so like, that's kind of like that's our like,
that's what we need to take the chance.
Yeah.
That's what we need to take the lead
more comfortably.
Yeah.
We're almost at that point though, where I'll take it for less.
Right.
And just kind of like wing it just because,
make a deal.
I mean, so kind of like with my laser. So when I put the down payment on my Mira, I was really frustrated with my Glowforge. And I kept telling myself that I needed to have, because it was 50% down.
Right.
And so I wanted to have, I think 75% of it before I even made that jump. Because I needed a cushion in my business account because I still needed to be able to buy supplies and whatever. But, I had that goal of what I wanted in my account before I was going to make that jump. Well, then my Glowforge was just on one. And I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need something, excuse me, on its way soon. And I made that jump before I told myself, before my goal and before I was ready, because I was scared about making up that other, it was a $10,000 machine. So I was scared of coming up, sure, I had 5,000, but I was scared of coming up with that other 5,000 in a couple months. It's like, what if everything tanks? What if I don't have it? Now, like, they're going to hold on to my laser until, however long it takes me to get it. And then I ended up making the rest of the money for that 5,000 in like a couple weeks or a month, maybe. And
that was off of one of your files, wasn't it? Or your file shop?
Well, my file sales. Yeah. I had like the best file sales of like ever in that month. And it like, thankfully, again, it was just perfect timing because, when it showed up, it was already paid off and I didn't have to worry about, that money. And I got to spend that other couple months just making extra money and not worrying about like, okay, I had that money set aside. And I was so glad that I made that jump when I did, because I went viral a couple weeks before it showed up at my house. And so it was something, I really needed to be coming and on the way. And so I feel like that's going to happen with us.
Well,
like we're definitely going to have to take that jump before we're like,
it's also like she
ready.
It's, you don't see all the work behind the scenes, and you say you had a good time, a good sales, and it's also the energy you put behind it.
Right.
You knew you had to make up this other half.
Exactly.
So you were working.
Yep.
You were working it.
Yeah.
So it's not to say like, oh, it just so happens you had a great sales.
Right. Yeah.
With
I didn't
the files.
get lucky.
You made
worked hard.
The majority of your files during that time.
Yeah.
And you cut a lot of stuff during that time.
I was doing a file, I think almost one a day or one every couple days or several.
That motivation of I have to make this other half.
Yep.
And I think you're right, because while you were talking, I was thinking that too. I'm like, once we make the leap and there's we know there's a shortfall. Yeah. We're going to do everything possible to go. Right now, we're just comfortable.
Like that fire under our ass. Because we're comfortable, but we almost need to get uncomfortable. Like we need to get uncomfortable.
Right.
Because that will.
Right. Because we're comfortable.
Push us.
So that 20 is not going to come because we're comfortable where we're at. Yep. So if we're uncomfortable, then, you put a different kind of energy on what you're doing. Yeah. So I think
if you got to pay the mortgage, you're gonna proceed a little bit differently. Right. I'm gonna watch a little bit less TV. Right. I'm gonna soak a little bit less in the moment, because it's like
get to work.
It's almost like you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be situation to get yourself moving, and you're like, okay, I've got to do this. Survival. You're in survival mode, and you have to figure it out.
Yeah. And we have that. We have the base. We have the platform to do it on.
So am I giving my 2 weeks tomorrow?
Okay, maybe not tomorrow.
January.
Yes. So that's I already know. We're already thinking like, when taxes come and
they have that cushion.
Like that having that extra cushion. It's not free.
I know it's
terrible.
But it is what it is.
Yeah. Let's not get technical. But
your like little savings you put away comes back.
Right. Yeah. So
we don't put it away; it gets taken from us. But that's a whole other conversation.
Positive things.
That's a different podcast, I think.
Right. So yes, when we get our taxes, it's going to be hard, especially on a hard day, either at home, me with the kids, or on a day that they have you running around or doing double work for the same pay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be hard not to be like, okay, I'm done.
So I got a bit of information. I didn't tell you last night. Yeah, I got a bit of information last night that somebody's coming on board.
Uh-oh.
And
is it good or bad?
So, I mean, it's all good.
Yeah.
Someone's coming on board, which I'm pretty excited because I like this person.
Okay.
So it's great that they're joining the team. Uh-huh. But they tell me they're coming on board. I'm like, oh, so you're gonna be working, the my old shift. Mm-hmm. Oh no, they hired somebody for that. I thought that was the only position. Yeah, so they rearranged some position. Yeah. See, so they rearranged. So now I'm gonna be interested to see what shift they work, and like what rearrangement happened.
Better not. Yeah,
exactly. That's
better
what
not be.
Listen. When they told me that, I'm like, listen, not because of you. And I like this person, so I have confidence. I'm like, listen, has nothing to do with you. Right. But if you get what I want, there's gonna be another position open.
Right. Yeah. No.
Then and there.
And we're also to that point where like it's hard because his job, like they take care of him, but they also don't at the same time. And so it's like it would take one more push like that where
that would be
if someone gets dayside, like
I've been asking for this for like at least a year. Over a year. So I've expressed my concern about not being able, because it's been hard to fill positions in my field.
Yeah.
So
they've literally had open positions for years.
Yeah. So I told
they aren't able to fill because they're not paying enough.
Right.
And so they can't get people who are willing to.
So they pay one thing, but people think because we're in Miami and it's the Miami market that they're going to get paid this.
Right.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you mean a living wage?
Yeah, exactly. So I've expressed to my manager that my concern is that since it's hard for him to fill positions, that you'll be more likely to give away my next move.
Right.
I'll get leapfrog.
You've put in the time for.
That I put in the time here because this is all about seniority here.
Right.
My concern is that I'm get leapfrogged by maybe someone, even if it's someone with more experience.
Right.
Than me.
That's not how it works though.
But that's not how it works here, according to you. Because every time I've asked, this and that, he's always been like, oh well, you're this far. because it's all seniority. So now I'm next in line. So we'll see what happens.
And they mess up that line. They're gonna. What do you call it? They're gonna push us. But that cliff that Steve talks about. They're gonna push us off that cliff.
I've been thinking for a while, like, because we were super gung ho like months ago about all this, and then it kind of like stalled out.
Right.
So I've been thinking.
Well, then we were gung ho a couple months ago. Not a couple months ago. Probably like April, March, May, and then May, June. I had the worst sales I've ever had. And like they were way down. And it was like, ooh, okay. Maybe not yet. Like maybe
your confidence.
It immediately took out the win from our sales. And it was like, okay, shit. Maybe we need to wait. Maybe we need to have more things in place.
It brought doubt into the conversation.
A lot of doubt.
Yeah. So I'm thinking maybe this is what we need. To put that fire, to light that fire, to be like, okay, well, you know what? I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna, if you leapfrog me now, I'm not gonna keep staying for this. Right. So I'm gonna leave this abusive relationship.
Right.
And you can keep your cable.
It's toxic.
You can keep your cable. I don't need TV. You know what? After here, I don't need TV because I gotta get to work.
Right.
So yeah. So yeah, I we'll see what happens. Yeah, I didn't say that. I didn't say that last night because
we're gonna definitely talk more offline.
Because I didn't know. I got this information. I'm like, well, let's see. I don't know what's coming because I don't know, and they don't know. They don't know what they want to come on board.
Yeah,
but they don't even know what shift they're gonna make.
Right.
And then and then we'll talk off.
Okay.
we're in a similar situation. So I mean, I'm listening and I'm like, gosh, this sounds like mirrored.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Job switched to commission only. So I mean, he can be there for 12 hours. How many hours?
Right.
A week, and he's only making commission, and then seniority kind of takes over. Yeah, it's a nightmare.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I would rather work for myself or him work for me instead of putting all that energy into that
exactly.
job. Imagine how much money we could be making if you're home.
Right.
And until we try it.
And like he'll take a day. So he called in. Didn't you called in
Monday.
one day? Yeah.
Monday,
so he called in one day
when
JR had pink eye, and it was just like it was a mess, and we could only get like a late afternoon appointment. And so he called in that day, and like the days that he's home, that's like an unplanned day off, I get so much done. Right. And it's this little teaser of like this is what it could be like every single day. And it like every time he does it, I'm like,
and I was even able to come in here for like a few minutes.
Yeah.
For like about maybe an hour or so.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Right.
You know,
so
definitely.
Well, and this is why we do this podcast. This is why we talk about it, because as much as it feels like we're the only ones struggling with it, we're not. Like, sure, you had like an amazing sales month, but you're also having similar struggles in why you have the motivation you have to work harder, but like also smarter, and like keeping him home, and like it probably would be a lot less stress, and you might even be able to make more money.
Exactly. And you cut back, and you can.
What's holding him back is the time he spends at work. We could do a whole lot more. Yeah.
And it's like you almost have to have that cushion so that it's not even like, so you can sleep at night. Like that's a good way to put it. Like you want to have that backup in case I have a bad month or something happens, hot water tank goes out and now you have to come up with all this money. You have to redo your whole bathroom.
Don't you get any ideas?
No.
Our hot water tank is literally like there. And he's like,
listen.
Don't you
knock on here? I'll knock on some wood back here for you.
This is actually
not
wood.
on this expensive.
Right? We probably wouldn't have got a custom fancy table.
This is me quitting right. This here. If it wasn't for all this,
it's not $20,000, but
for all this.
Hey, it's beautiful though.
No, it is.
It is.
And
it's gorgeous.
This is one of our dreams.
Yes.
Who would have thought?
This
dream was like
insane.
Only a year old.
Yeah. It's insane. And not even. We got it in June or July.
No, I know, but I'm saying what I'm saying is we were thinking of a podcast studio with only like a year into podcasting.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I told her, I was like, if everything falls apart, this is gonna be a really fun room to hang out in.
Yeah.
Right? We'll make some more podcasts. I don't care if nobody listens.
Right?
Yeah, that's what we would do.
We actually do have a plan to do another one, but we just it's
the schedule.
Job.
Yes,
that's when John quits. You know, he might just get mad one day. And
you'll have three podcasts.
Right? John and Crystal have another podcast.
Saturating the market.
Kodi, you've been amazing.
Yes, we know you got to get back to work.
What's your right?
I got to go package some signs and get them to UPS before 3:30.
So how do people find you? Where do you want them to follow you?
Probably Instagram. I think I'm most active there. Really am.
And is it at DIY with Kodi, Kodi, right?
You got it.
Yeah. Did we do all the things? I mean, we didn't ask the question what, but there's a whole bunch of.
There's a lot of
for new or struggling.
Tips for new. I mean, so here's the thing: we won the whole thing of like getting to become a new or struggling.
Yeah.
Owner, laser owner, small business owner.
We talked about all the struggles.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of struggles. This has been a struggle podcast.
Yeah, the struggle.
You know what? I think we all need to hear it sometimes to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah, to just to know that you're not alone. You're not alone in this. Yeah. So, and it's not easy. It's not easy leaving.
No.
Your safety net.
Right.
It's not easy cutting the safety net because that's what my job is. Yeah. It's a safety net.
Totally, and the insurance and all that.
Yeah, the safety.
And I guess, I know we're ending, but like, I'm pretty sure you've messaged me before, like about your anxiety. Because there was like, I think there was a post that one of our moderators might have deleted or whatever for one reason. And you came and you were kind of like, she was ready to leave the group.
I was like, I hope I didn't do anything. Are you guys mad at me?
It was something super innocent or like a miscommunication, or I don't even remember like what it was about. But like when she was like kind of, I wasn't like laughing, but when she was freaking out in my inbox, I was like, she's one of us. Like, I understand.
Like, kick me out today.
Right? It was like, no, we're not gonna kick you out. Like, please don't overthink it. It was, it's this reason or whatever. But it like, and I feel like that comes with a lot of us creative people. Like when you're creative, you kind of also are a little bit like a hot mess too. Mm-hmm. And so
I have it written on my forehead if I may.
Right. Hot Mess Express. I need a train tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
Just tell JR for him.
loves trains. I mean, it might be kind of perfect. Next tattoo idea.
Hot Mess Express.
Yep.
I guess we can all get them together. We can create a little group.
Oh my God, yes. I love it.
All right. Well, thanks for spending an hour with us.
Oh, of course.
Of your busy time. And thank you guys for listening and hopefully watching and subscribe to YouTube.
Yes.
And that's been another great episode of the Rally Back Project with Crystal and John.
Bye.
Bye.
Maybe we're all done.